Grand Rising. Happy Monday. This is Toby Tompkins, CEO of Safio, Inc. And this is our Monday morning message for beautiful leaders. I spent the weekend thinking about what nature teaches us about different models of leadership and leading teams or organizations or even governments. And I realized that nature teaches us many different forms of leadership. And I want to focus on two today. One is what I'm going to call Queen Bee or Beehive Leadership. And in the Beehive situation, which is fairly commonly known, the Queen Bee is the center of the leadership. She is the matriarch of the beehive, and all of the bees are organized in a very directive way to support the leadership directives of the Queen Bee. Now, I'm not a biologist, so I can't speak in a whole lot of detail about how beehives work. But one of the things that we know for sure that's a great thing is that in a beehive culture, people are very, very clear about roles, responsibilities, and deliverables. And one of the challenges of a beehive culture is what happens when the queen bee is removed. And often those infrastructures move into chaos. So when we think about leadership and we think about the moment that we're in, whether it's a moment of complexity or volatility or uncertainty, a beehive leadership structure can be very, very, very helpful to get us through really difficult and unclear and challenging moments. But there's another kind of leadership that I think is equally as fascinating that I think as beautiful leaders, nature can teach us about. And that's the leadership of the forest. So, there's a saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. Well, that's for a very important reason. The forest trees protect, nurture, defend, and sustain the forest in ways that we can't even imagine. So the large trees that have grown up that comprise what a forest is actually create an ecosystem. And within that ecosystem, those trees have been born, they've broken ground, they've started off as saplings, they've grown strong and tall. And most importantly, they have survived hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Those trees, those leaders, those sage mentors and sponsors of the forest have a most important responsibility, which has nothing to do with what we see when we see a forest. It has to do with how they use the soil and the root system and the fungi to create a supporting and enabling environment for saplings and seeds and other things that live in the forest to grow and thrive and eventually become great and ancient and wise like those trees. So the question is, what are the moments in your leadership where you've had to be like the mother tree in the forest? We've talked about mother trees already, but I want to revisit that. And what are those moments in your leadership when you've needed to be the queen bee? And the most powerful characteristic that we can bring to either role is humility. The humble queen bee understands, because of the power of her listening, who needs what in her beehive. And the humble, tall trees are forever listening to the needs of the most meek, of the most young in that organization. They're not just listening for what they need. They're listening to make sure that every living thing in that forest feels, as Mercedes Martin says at Mercedes Martin & Co., feels seen, heard, and connected. That's what makes a forest, and that is what makes a beehive, a high quality, high performing, high impact institution. So have a great day. I hope this was helpful. We'll be back on Thursday with Ask Toby. Any questions that you have, send to asktoby@safio.com. Great. Have a great day.